Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to the World Racing League iRacing Series here at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I'm Austin. I am joined by Daniel Tuer and Marco Barbadera, and we are here back home again at a toasty Indianapolis Motor Speedway. 109 temperature on the track degrees, but a beautiful 78 temperature in the sky, and a lovely afternoon to go racing. Welcome, Daniel. Welcome, Marco. How are y'all doing?
Definitely doing great. It's great to be here, Austin. I think, it was a busy race weekend for WRL this last weekend at Daytona. So now it's good to see the sim racers back out here. I think everyone's still recovering from the weekend, but, with the hot track today and, we should see some pretty interesting tire degradation, I think. And we've got a little bit of a thinner field, so hopefully some closer racing from the front of the pack today.
And hopefully less tires blowing up and no spins through a tri-oval.
Yep, and more on that for everyone later. How are you, Marco?
We're here at lovely Indianapolis, the road course to the old Formula One circuit with the turn 4 and opening complex. Unlike the Indy cars go on, they actually use the full opening complex, and it's just that opening complex to the Indianapolis road course I just absolutely adore. It's so loose, so tricky, so like these turns very long. You feel like you just nail it down, and especially in the museum part of the track, that chicane right there, if you hit one of those curves, your car is going to be set spinning. But then everyone's favorite part of the circuit, and to quote Southpaw Racer, I'm an Indy car going backwards.
Oh, yep.
Hey, Marco, I think you're muted.
No.
No. I'm
I am
listening to the stream
muted.
right now.
I am muted. I am absolutely muted. You are absolutely correct.
Thank you, YouTube chat.
So let's go and now they will hear me. Read. We have a full pace lap. Perfect. Let's go with the qualifying results for the 4 classes.
Starting up on pole is John D. Price ahead of Ryan Galloway, David Stab in third, Chris Pice in fourth, Aubrey Kundal in fifth, followed by Leif Peterson and Cameron Lawrence finishing your GTO grid. Off to Daniel for the GP1s and GP2s.
And so we've got kind of the triple that you really want to see today. We've got Paul Slavonic, Daniel Sadro. I know we don't have Jordan Musser here today, but Chris Jennings showed up to race in GP1. So I think, we'll definitely have at least some close racing between the two of them, with only 900ths of a second between their qualifying laps. In GP2, we've got Max Lupfer, Chris DeShong, and JT Tammy. Max Lupfer and Chris DeShong have really been going at it the last handful of races. So this class, we're looking to see some great tight battles nearly the entire race. And back to you for GP3, Austin. Or not. All right, we've got Jared Joseph, Todd Carver, the two teammates that have been battling it out for first and second in the class all season, followed by Simon Foweather, who's also right there with the two of them. And then we've got Brendan Huron, Greg Mack, Darren Dean, and Felix Borodati. So, I think we've got a good variety of speeds here in this class, but it doesn't look like we have too much of a delta or too much of an overlap between the other classes. Not sure if you guys noticed that. So hopefully we don't have as many incidents that are interclass incidents today with the thinner field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Austin is back. Beautiful.
No. Yeah.
Where were you? You were called upon.
My mom came in my room wanting to know if I wanted food.
Again? They
like
went
food,
in to
man.
ask if you wanted food 1 hour and a half ago during the F4 broadcast.
Yeah.
So for the viewers that aren't familiar, Austin, he's on the non-stop announcing cycle. So he just he goes from race to race to race to race. So yeah, he's busy all day.
I eat. I like food,
this is my
man.
3rd broadcast of the day, and no one came into my room asking me if I wanted some food, so I'm very disappointed.
Hey, it's that Southern love, man. Come down to here.
All right.
Come here to Texas, but not stop eating.
All right, looks like we're getting ready to go green soon here, but where do we have the track map? Is that up on screen? There we are.
Now the GTOs are just coming out onto the Indianapolis short shoot and about to head into I want to say turn 1, but it's not turn 1, but it is turn 1. It's just the last turn. Am I
right.
confused?
Ralph Schumacher
Yes.
corner, no? This one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, this track, it's really interesting, but I'll let you go ahead and take it away, Austin.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're back home again in Indiana, and we're going racing for the iWRL here at Indianapolis.
And they look like they want to try and go 4 wide here, if they can, into turn 1, or what is this, turn 4 in the other direction?
Don't even get me started on that as we head into the opening turns here. All the classes all spread out and all intertwined, battling with each other, and everyone makes it through there very cleanly, which for most series is a very rare thing to see because that opening turn sequence is so tight and so tricky. If you just hit that inside curve, you're getting shot across the track. And luckily, we didn't have anyone really make contact with anyone else as they make it through the first complex very nicely.
Yeah, everything went swimmingly. I can report to you that 2 drivers haven't taken the green flag. Jennings in GP1. Oh, big crash.
We spoke.
Oh.
We spoke too much. That's Tommy,
Oh, no.
the new Mustang driver. He wasn't here last week or the week before there, and now the normal 2-class Mustang is still a 2-class as he's going to... Looks like he was actually hit by somebody.
think it was all on his own, you know. This Mustang, yeah, look at that. He was already losing
Oh.
it midway through the corner.
Oh, the rear. I was looking at the rear damage. It's like, was he hit? And then he ended up against the Armco barrier.
Back, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, the retirees, Bordati and Jennings haven't taken the start. GP3 for Bordati and GP1 for Jennings. Looks like they won't be starting from the pit, so you know, they just came in, did some laps, and are going to enjoy the race from the grandstand, I would imagine, or from the paddock.
Here's Tammy not going into the pits, going around turn 4, and he's going to have a overtaking fest today. And back up front between John D. Price and Rye Galloway as they're fighting for the overall lead.
Yeah, and so on that first lap, we started to see John Price and Rye Galloway start to pull away from the pack. But we're seeing Pies do everything he can to stay as close as he can here. I think towards the start of the infield, he was closing the gap, but it looks like through somewhere in the middle here, he lost a step. We'll have to watch these next couple laps to see if he can close the gap or if the front two run away from it.
With 110 track temperature, it's going to be very hard to keep the tires and grip up unless you have the car set up for a very hot track. And that's probably what Price and Galloway have, because it's very odd to see a 2-second gap already form after one lap. And especially in those low speed corners in the museum section, it's crucial if you have the car set up for a very slippy track.
I just wanted to point out something, but go ahead, Daniel. It's not very important.
Oh, neither was my comment. I was just going to highlight that, you know, this track, although we're in the sim right now, I mean, it definitely has a history of, you know, being sensitive to setup and tires, as well as we see Simon Foweather potentially make a move on Todd Carver here down the straight. But you know, when when Formula One left the Indianapolis circuit, I want to say back in 2008 or 2009, you know, one of the big issues they had is that the simulations for this track didn't take into account the diamond grind texture that it left on the surface, and so the tires were failing at an extremely high rate on this track. You know, given that they weren't able to take the stresses on the banked ovals, and it was causing, you know, some really dangerous situations. So yeah, I mean, it's good to know we're in the sim today, so any failures don't cause any problems in real life. But you know, definitely it goes to show that this is a track where, you know, setup matters and tires matter. And, you know, seeing that we're hot today, I'm really excited to see if a tire change will make a difference.
There is a video on the Chamber channel on YouTube. If you don't know it, search for Chamber. That talks specifically about that race, and exactly about what you were talking about, Daniel, the way the tarmac is shaped on the oval section, and all the drama that it caused especially in that 2005 fiasco that sadly spelled the end for F1. I think the last Grand Prix was 2006. The one where my favorite driver, you know, of all time, Juan Pablo Montoya, also had his last ever F1 race, and he went out with a bang, causing a massive pileup that caused Nick Heidfeld to end up on his roof. So what a way to leave the show. By the way, these two guys, Luffer and Deschamps, previous lap they had identical lap times, and this
They're
lap
bump drafting.
Yeah,
These guys are
down
bump
the straight.
Yeah, well, they were.
Have to sit with an onboard here. Yeah, Deschamps definitely gave him room on the entry there, but look at him close the gap mid-corner. You know, it looks like the two of them must be kind of like we saw Paul Slavonik and Jordan Musser battle earlier in the year. These two must take entry and exit a little bit different than each other. Oh, as Luffer pushes a little wide there.
As Carver, Foweather, these two were also bump drafting as well last lap, but Todd Carver made... Oh, no, he gets this little switch around. Carver makes the move up down to the inside after the switchback. What a move.
That was pretty. Wow.
I didn't notice he got away with that.
Close fight at the front as well. By the way, new feature from this broadcast onwards, and those are not the Freedom units, but as you can see, with my new setup, I can finally show you the rear view mirrors on the cars. So,
Ooh. Isn't that pretty?
Ooh,
yeah,
helmet, sunstrip.
yes. I mean, I like the TCR car because it has such a massive rear view mirror there.
Oh, the four just stacked onto the side.
And you
Reminds me of
pretty
those
mega.
scooters.
and
where
it asks you in the options how many rear view mirrors you want to activate in cockpit. That counts as 4, so you have to activate all of them in order to have them show in your stream for the TCR car.
Wow. Well, it looks like JT Tammy, made it through all of the GP2 or GP3 traffic, and is trying to close the gap back up to Deschamps and Lupfer. I'm not sure how easy that will be, given just the raw pace of those two drivers and the fact that they seem to be working together pretty well.
and he's
but-
damaged.
Yes, and he's damaged. Good call out on that one.
I think he's just gonna try to finish this, enjoy this 1 hour race that he has, and take it as it comes, because you never know what's gonna happen in a race. Maybe some of the GP3 traffic that these guys encounter later on in the race might cause a little bit of trouble, and maybe Deschamps and Tammy might come up against each other, as we're riding on board Galloway, and he's lifting off.
Yeah, he's lifting.
So he's already saving fuel in this hour race.
Notice, though, the apex speeds of these two drivers are pretty similar. It looks like Rye was carrying just a little bit smoother entry than Mr. John Price. So, we might see some differences in tire wear towards the end of the race here based on one corner sample size, of course, but will be interesting to watch that over the course of the race.
Well, speaking of Lawrence.
Lawrence.
Is around.
Ooh.
And he's out. This is just driver Eric got into the grass and went around for a ride and got stuck in the gravel trap. A little bit of donuts, but yeah, he's out.
Lovely livery, by the way, to bet that... oh, look at that, we already have some traffic. It's Darren Dean in front of the two leaders, and Pice has disappeared from our screens, which is not a good thing. Hope he reappears very, very soon. We'll keep you posted on that.
He should appear
There
right
he is.
now.
Oh, there
There he
reappeared.
is. Welcome back, Chris Pies. How was the void?
The Shadow Realm.
Ah, the Shadow Realm. Ooh, there's Mr. Rye trying to make a move. Let's see.
Well, last time he lifted off when he had a run, and I believe he's doing it again.
Now, if Rye continues this could be a pretty interesting strategy. Try and force John Price to defend aggressively on the entry into some of these corners, cook the fronts a little bit, and build that small grip advantage over the course of the race. Definitely, if that's what he's thinking, that's a style that I am all for. I love those sorts of mind games.
Yeah, speaking of tire wear, and speaking of iWRL, WRL went to Daytona, and there were a couple of tire issues, and we could kind of feed that into here right now.
Yeah, there definitely were some posts of some folks having there was at least one post of a delaminated tire on what I believe was a right rear tire that caused, I'm sure a little bit of an incident, but sounds like nothing too catastrophic. But the picture of the tire just looks gruesome. Ooh, wow, there we go. As Deschamps tries to make a move on the inside of Lupfer up into turn 1 here, but Lupfer is able to defend and fight him off. That's is Deschamps going to try and come back here with another over-under? Or
I
doesn't
think
have the momentum? Yeah.
Deschamps was smelling the blood, but I think he's going to try to play the long game once more. The attempt for the switchback was there, but with that long right-hander, there's no room to actually correct
Execute.
the overtake.
Yeah.
I know the karting people that race on this track once a year, they love this section because it's just so fun.
Now, on that last corner, I'm not sure if you guys both caught that, but Chris Deschamps using way more track
trouble.
than Max Lupfer. Uh-oh.
Joseph,
What happened?
he's hit the curb. He's hit the apex curve and it's just got shot out wide, and that's right in front of our leaders.
Ooh.
give you a replay as soon as possible, but let's follow this drama here with Brennan Horn. Oh dear, that's very, 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 very tight.
Oh, buddy.
Ooh.
Oh, right on the apex too. You definitely don't want to get held up right there. And Galloway got held up a lot. And this is playing in Price's favor. And both these drivers got held up a lot. So let's get a replay of what's happened. And he's actually missed the...
Ooh.
He's missed the apex curve, but he's just broke way late.
Yeah, you could see he was plowing off in a straight line, but the wheels were turned here. So that yeah, definitely missed his apex marker.
This is not
Or
a
carried
replay,
little much.
Austin. It's live. I know you were confused for a second. Also,
Wait,
we
was
have
that
been told that Horn is racing for free tacos in the...
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
speaking of tacos, that's what
Ooh.
was offered.
Oh wow. You lucky, you know what. I would kill for some tacos right now.
Oh, you will love my tacos I make for you. You come down to Texas, I'll make you tacos. That offer goes to you, Daniel, as well.
All right, I'm in. Wow, look at the 4 of these drivers. Just like last week, we've got more than just a lead 2 are competing for the podium here. So, ooh, as they get a little bit close, Carver and Foweather on the entry to turn 1 there.
We know
Now
that
we're going to see a switchback.
Foweather hasn't been shy from some physical confrontation with other drivers, despite what his car says. So, he's been in the wars many times, as I remember, for example, Okayama, but also other rounds. Very, very, very aggressive driver, very competitive driver. And there were like inches between himself and Carver there in turn 1. So, as per usual, GP3 giving us a very, very, very close battle. But we have close battles in all 4 classes, right now.
Now, the
Yeah.
class that we aren't really covering a lot is the GP1 between Slavonic and Sadro. As we look at the GP2, Deshong and Lufer. Lufer looking down to the inside. Deshong holding around the outside. They're side by side. A little bit of hold up for Deshong.
I think Lufer has the advantage into this long corner.
Oh, Lufer's got it.
Wow, that was some nice work.
Oh, but Lufer's caught the curb, and here comes Deshong now. They're still battling side by side as they come up into the second part of this first sector. They got the long left-hander now. And Deshong can hold it around the outside, and who's going to get an excellent run coming into the back straight. He's looking for that switchback right now, but Lufer, he's got the run. He's got the corner, but here comes Deshong in that American Mustang.
Look at his run off the apex. Deshong carried quite a bit more apex speed there on that last corner, and it's paying off down the straight, but just not quite enough to give him a chance to pass.
He could have sent it down there, but he was waiting for it. As we got a replay of Aubrey Kundal and one of the MX-5s.
Ooh.
Oh, that was just an unforced error. Aubrey taking a little bit too cautious, got onto the curb and went around. So we're back on board with Lufer and Deshong as they head onto Indianapolis turn 1.
Ooh.
And here comes the Mustang. He's going to try to slide his way down below. And now we're going side-by-side drag racing. This isn't Lucas Oil Speedway. That's a little bit up the road, but whoa, we're getting the same amount of excitement here at Indianapolis.
Couldn't have said it better, Austin. Wow. Ooh, and Deshong is...
Same exact move. Same exact moves we saw last lap, but role reversal here. Deshong takes the lead after a beautiful move around the outside.
I mean, it has been like 4 straight laps that they came into turn 1 side by side, and the last laps they decided, we can actually try and make some passes. They still have some pretty comfortable margin over JT Tammy, actually 25 seconds. Oh, look at this. I mean, look for trying to go for a gap. I mean, they have got 45
he's gone
minutes.
wide.
They still have 45 minutes, but they probably say, we might as well enjoy these 45 minutes that we have left in this race by passing each other lap after lap. And looks like we're going to have another tack into the first corner of the next lap.
Deshaun going a little bit sideways into the entrance of the museum section. And Lufer is seeing that, and I think he smells blood. And hey, if they keep this up for the next 45 minutes, I am 100% okay with this, because who doesn't love two big American cars just wrestling with each other?
Now, very quickly, as they go into the first corner, I will very quickly show you a pass for the lead in GP3. Simon Foweather with a bit of a push went back into the lead as the GP1 drivers were going past. Back to these two guys with almost perfect timing.
And side by side, heading into turn one. This time, Lufer down onto the inside, and no challenge from Deshaun.
And by the way, so that last pass that we watched for Foweather over Horan and Carver did cause a bit of a gap to open between Daniel Sadro and Paul Slavonic. That gap is now up to just nearly a second.
More than that, I think, 4 seconds.
Oh wow, something happened.
Yeah,
I think the entire conglomerate of the GP3s just made it hard for Sadro to get around, because that opening sector, sure, it's wide enough, but everyone wants to take that same line, because anything offline there is just going to upset your rhythm and the way you rhyme and drive that car.
Yeah, looks like the timing may have been off there. Looks like it dropped down to 0.6.
Because they are on a different lap. This is a iRacing bug that it's very difficult to solve, because then when you go back to cars on the same lap as the one you want to watch, the gap, this is the true gap basically, when we watch directly at them.
Right.
Let's also show the time delta for the viewers so they can have a clearer idea. We will see a spike at a certain point. There it is. And that
that's just
you know, that's something must have happened there, and probably it was when they were going through that group of cars there with the GP3s. And
if we do watch the replay of that pass, you're exactly right. You'll see that Paul makes it through here, but the rest of the GP1 field falls back, because he's unable to predict what these other drivers are doing.
Yeah, heading into turn one, he brakes early and waits for all three of these cars, and I'm expecting just every attempt is just blocked, because he's got 3 moving chicanes in front of you.
Look at that. Almost
yep,
coming to
they
a stop.
all want to take that inside line.
Yeah. And you know, they are doing the race, of course, so they are entitled to do so, but I mean, especially in you know, all 4 of these classes really like the cars to stay close to each other. You know, they are really, you want to keep the momentum going. I mean, this is a massive waste of time for Daniel, unfortunately. Look at that.
It's
and
just,
Paul,
the turns are so long and so drawn out that any line other than the Apex, even if you're in the top class car to the slower class cars, it's going to hurt you, as Darren Dean smacked the outside wall and absolutely murdered a cone right there. And I think he was
a lovely rejoin, by the way. Isn't there an escape road there? I remember the F1 cars used to take an escape road.
Yes.
If you go
Yeah, there is an escape road.
Now,
yeah, there is.
Unbelievably, in my racing career, I never went straight in that corner. I mean, never went that straight. So I don't know, because you know, Austin knows I know all the crash locations in iRacing. No, multiple times even I went in some of them. So in most of them, I should say. But that one escapes my collection. So I remember going back to those. Well, the viewers haven't heard me because I was with when I was watching that Grand Prix with the digital package of the F1 during free practice, especially many drivers. So when I was on board with them, went straight on and took that. And also there was nothing to stop the cars from going on the ovals. Basically, it was the biggest runoff area in the F1 World Championship, basically.
Yeah, and I always wanted to see like a racing series where just for a Joker lap they just go around the outside, of the oval.
In the F1 series made by ISI, which then became the guys that were behind the original R Factor, when they had this track, they put a tire bundle there, but with some very simple coding, you could make that tire bundle transparent, and they actually modeled the entire oval, but never used it. So with mods, you could use the Indianapolis oval, even though you were forced to drive it backwards, of course, unfortunately. But yeah, they went through the trouble to do it.
You can imagine that being a little problematic as you're trying to learn to do left-hand turns if you practice it always in reverse. Could be quite entertaining.
Hey, sometimes you gotta know the track like the back of your hand, and sometimes you gotta look at that hand in the mirror.
Yes. Ooh. And here we are with Price and Galloway coming up on a little bit of traffic. Not too much, but it looks like 4 cars worth.
2, 1. Back to 2. Oh, hello, FX5.
Yeah.
A lot of ground was made up by Galloway in their braking zone, though. And what's happened to the sport racer Greg Mack? Yeah, he's just missed the braking point once more and is parking on the outside. He's letting these guys through.
It makes you wonder a little bit, you know, if the drivers are starting to deal with tires, but ooh,
That was a
what do
little
we
bit
have?
of contact, I think, with the Chris Deschamps car.
Don't see any damage on either of the cars, but oh, they were bumping and banging for sure. And this is going to get very tricky as Lufer is put himself in between him and Galloway. And Galloway is trying to get it past him as fast as he can, but unable to, as that Mustang is just dancing on the bumper of Price now.
Really smooth exit there by Ry Galloway. He's able to, you know, make that cost him as little as possible, give him a chance to catch up on the long banked section here. The draft should be multiple seconds long, right?
No, surprisingly the Porsches are very unsurprisingly the Porsches are very slippery. So about a second, 1.4 seconds is usually the iRacing gap for draft. But the Porsches, if you get like 8/10 behind somebody, you'll really feel the draft. But anything under there is just a minor increase of speed. And so Ry has a lot to claw back. I say the car with the biggest amount of draft has to be the MX-5 with 2.5 seconds behind it.
MX-5
the draft is affected.
Is massive, and I was reading a few. Well, now it's been like a year and a half ago. I was reading in the forums a real life driver of in the MX-5 championship in North America, and he was. You know, there was this thread on the forums where saying this is, you know, super unrealistic. The draft is massive, and you know, the driver came in and said, "No, guys, this is actually very realistic. I don't know why, but this car punches a massive hole in the air." So,
well, it's the amount of dirty air that it kicks off. Have you ever seen a open top car in a aerodynamic field? Like that roll cage and everything is just a massive black hole, and there's so much turbulence popping off the top back of that car. It's just a top down MX-5, very aerodynamic. Wait, a top up MX-5, very aerodynamic. A top down, oh my goodness.
Now I know something I didn't know. Well, thank you, Austin.
I'm glad you got there, Austin, because I was about to go down that rant as well. It's a really high coefficient of drag, compared to some of the other cars, so that would make a lot of sense.
I maybe my old major may have been aerophysics for a bit.
We'll have to ask you some more aerodynamic related questions next season too.
I didn't last long as that major. But if you need some, hey, I'll try.
Looks like Galloway has made his way back to Price. Half a second now.
You see they're taking a very wide exit going out to that DRS sign. If you cross that DRS sign, you will get a slowdown penalty. But if you just go out there and stay inside the boundaries, you are good. And
oh no.
Lufer is around, and oh, that's a big hit to his back left. And oh my.
And that's the same place we saw
Ooh.
JT Tammy go off.
Yeah.
Looks like the
We got
exact
a
same
little...
crash. And this is on board from Chris
so
DeShong.
close. And Deshaun's got a slowdown from that as well.
Oh, he's crabbing.
Like, it is...
Disaster for Lupfer.
Oh, no.
Let's go on board. You will see. Well, not from here, but we have a
Let's
better...
get a driver's eye view.
Yeah, it's not very realistic, but we will make an exception, and you will see the steering wheel. Look at that. Let's pretend this is helmet cam.
Conveniently, though, for Lupfer, this is within the pit window. So this pit stop, given that he has one free quick repair, this shouldn't cost him an inordinate amount of time. You know, he is... Wow, that's a lot of crab. That's so much crab.
That is red lobster. That's beyond crab. That's lobster.
Yep.
I'm thinking of food again.
Oof.
I'm sorry.
That's pretty rough.
I don't like fish, so... Or, you know... water-based food, so you can talk about fish, you know, and crabs.
Okay, he's
lobsters.
snaking. Desert snaking.
I don't
So
like
now
snakes.
JT Tammy has someone to compete
How do you
with.
not like snakes?
I don't know. And they are not on the menu here in Italy. So
You don't eat snakes. You just watch them.
Okay. We've got a lot of traffic bunching up, towards the back here, crossing through the GP3 field. It looks like it took the, most of the infield for a lot of the GTO cars to pass through. Seems like these guys are fighting a really close battle, and it's been hard for everyone to pass them.
Yeah, if you remember the Daytona race that we were just at, that all these guys, they were constantly in a group, and everyone who tried to pass them just pretty much resorted to doing it on the oval, as the infield of Daytona was very hard to pass this entirely rowdy group of MX-5s, and making the GP3 field one especially to watch, as these four drivers are having a great race, as Lupfer is finally coming out of the pits after being lapped.
Oof.
And he's going to exit directly in front of them. Oh, no. All right, we
split the field. That was close.
Yes. The pit exit here at Indianapolis goes directly onto the racing line. It has that that one quality about it that I'm not a fan of.
It feels a lot like old Charlotte Roval. The old Charlotte Roval, the pit exit felt like it was right on the racing line.
Or
the new Charlotte. The
or
new
old
one is
Pocono
much
road
better.
course,
Yep. Yeah, there we go.
which is still current Pocono road course, but
I mean,
iRacing still hasn't released a scan of it.
if it's okay for the FIA and Paul Ricard, it's good enough for iRacing, I think. I don't know if Austin, if you've seen the pit exit at Paul Ricard for the F1.
Oh, I've seen it. I've seen it.
And the thing that I find it crazy as Galloway, let's see if he lifts. Yes, he does.
Well, he had to live right there as Price defended that down onto the inside. If Price stayed there, Galloway probably wouldn't have lifted, as he was going for the move either way. But Price, well defended, great mind games played by Price, but another lap goes into the books for these drivers.
You know, at Paul Ricard, with all the amount of real estate they have, there is nothing around the racetrack. They still managed to have the worst pit exit in the F1 calendar by a mile. Like it's not like they have constraints of space. They can come up with something creative to avoid. No, boom, the car straight in the middle of the racing line. Lovely.
At least they improved the pit entry, because the old pit entry, oh my goodness, that pit entry was just absurd to look at.
Here comes Greg Mack in the pits. He had a issue early. He spun, if you remember. Now he's getting into the pits. As per usual with these iWRL races, we are already halfway through, and time has really gone by very, very quickly, and we still have a very, very big fight here in the GTO field and the usual massive fight in the GP3. Sadly, the GP2 race has been broken by a couple of crashes for Max Luffer and JT Tammy, and Slavonic and Sadro are now 5.8 seconds apart after they were basically glued together for the first 25 minutes. Then they jumped into some traffic and Sadro was basically blocked unwittingly by that wall of MX-5 cars, but things can change very quickly, and they will probably have to go through them once again during the race. So Sadro still has a chance, and also he can make some ground in the pits, but Galloway is playing the long game, guys, as we have noticed a couple of times. He might still go for a move here before the pit stop, but he's been saving quite a bit of fuel, especially noticeable when he goes into the pits, into the straight and into turn 1, as Foweather and Horn are both in the pits in GP3. So probably these
I'm not going to be surprised if Galloway stays another lap out than Price.
Yes. You know, maybe
it feels like it'd be pretty hard for these drivers to save a full lap of fuel, because this lap is quite a bit of full throttle. I mean, you really have to be saving a lot of fuel. So I guess Galloway, if he's taking advantage of that draft and partial throttle for a good portion of it, you could imagine that happening. But I wonder if they're both going to go at the same time, unless both of them have the option of staying out an extra lap.
Look at the dashboard, the 152, 153, 55, and then the lift.
Yep, that's a lot of lift. Yep, good call, guys. Yep.
He's lifting so early, but he's gaining a lot of time back into the braking zone, which is giving him a great run through turns 1 and 2. But this chicane that's pretty much made up the opening turns is very hard to make a move from behind the car. You have to be pretty much beside the car to actually get the turn to work out for you. So him lifting off, being a bit easier on the brakes, is going to be helping him in the long run.
Yeah, towards the end of this race, if we're still seeing Price followed by Galloway, I would not be surprised if the front tires start to matter. I know these Porsches tend to be able to go a very long time on a set of tires, but if lap after lap after lap, Rye Galloway is pulling off throttle, 100 yards sooner, and really, not going quite so hard on those front tires, I wouldn't be surprised if it starts to add up.
So
and now the teammates,
an extra lap.
The GP3 teammates are in, and the GP3 leaders are into the pits. Now we get to see Foweather and Horn coming back out of their pit stints and see if they get up in front of the leaders, but it's looking like it's not going to be that way because they're being lapped right now, and that is holding up Horn.
Well, we still have 15 seconds of expected pit time for both Jared Joseph and Todd Carver. So I've got a feeling they're going to come out in behind here, but not by much. They should be leaving the pit just about now.
Man, they did, right on the money.
Yeah, perfect.
And they're going to exit side by side, and ooh, doggy, this might be a bit close for comfort. Foweather clears them, but Horn does not.
Back to 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah,
this is exciting.
Very unlucky because he caught that. There was that GTO car. I think it was Leif Peterson that was lapping him just as they were getting out of the infield section. That of course slowed both of them down. Here still situation remains the same. Price in front of Galloway. Sadro takes back the lead in GP1, but of course he has to stop Slavonic. There is at a 20-second stop in his pit stall, but cone to cone 1 minute. So let's keep an eye on those times there.
While we're chatting about pit stops and the impact, when we look at Max Lupfer's stop after his car had the run-in and he was trying to get the kind of the crabbing effect fixed on his car, so he stopped for approximately 1 minute, which I would imagine means that he took fuel and a full set of tires. I doubt Chris DeShong and JT Tammy are going to take tires for this race because they shouldn't need to. And Max Lupfer is running very, very quick laps on a fresh set of tires. So towards the end of the race, we might see a little bit of a gap in Lupfer's favor as he tries to run back at JT Tammy.
As
Austin was right.
what's new? Like,
Stab and Peterson are also in the Premier GTO class, so Galloway and Pice are staying out. Aubrey Condal should also come into the pits, yes. So let's keep an eye. Price comes out, of course, first. Is he in any sort
That's
of traffic?
very fast.
Seems like he will be in the clear for a bit. So let's focus on the race leader. Look at Lupfer. 38.8, that's the fastest lap of the race, but look, he has to make a lap back on his GP2 rivals, so it's going to be very, very hard. Sadro is in the pits, by the way, so Slavonic should get back in the lead in GP1, and let's focus on Galloway then.
and Galloway's gonna stay out for another lap and try to push his luck and try to extend it, but I don't think this is going to be the right call. We saw something similar to this at Daytona, where he stayed out just a little bit too long, and that ended up biting him in the foot. No, wait, no, this was at Spa.
Yes.
For a completely different series.
That's all right.
But
We
in the
won't
same
judge you
car.
for bringing in other races. You're broadcasting all the time, Austin.
In a different series, in the same car, we saw a guy stay out for not one but 2 laps more, and that ended up biting him short because he was lifting off a little bit too much at the end of his final run to make that fuel window because he misjudged it. So has Galloway got enough fuel to make it to the pit lane now? Because there's no way he saved 2 laps of fuel from that.
Well, and so I'm starting to look at some of the lap sector breakdowns for Galloway versus Price. And so what's interesting is, Galloway is running very quick laps, but the top speeds that he's recording are much higher than John Price. And so it makes me wonder if he ran a much lighter aero package and it was potentially saving fuel in that his car didn't have to push nearly as much air down those straights. He might have more spare fuel than we anticipated.
Well, he's headed to the pits right now, so that spare fuel of him running out of fuel is going out, and now he just gotta hit that pit speed limiter and not that pit wall, like what I do, and get his race finished. Get that stint finished before we go. 20 minutes left in this race for the iWRL here at Indianapolis.
And John Price had a 12.6 second time in box and 52 seconds from pit entry to pit exit. So we'll be able to watch Rye Galloway here in his pit. So far 4 seconds. We'll see what that ends up.
So we have the pit timer. Oh, there it is. Ooh, 11 seconds.
10.8.
Wow, that's very fast. That's nearly 2 seconds.
Oh, he stole that. He stole that away. Wow. The boys in Galloway's box are having a party right now. I know Horn's driving for free tacos, but I'm pretty sure Galloway is paying his entire pit crew with a great trip to Taco Bell. Oh wait, no, that Taco Bell's been closed down, unfortunately. There's a famous Taco Bell that used to operate around the outside of Indianapolis, where Ryan Hunter-Reay, after winning pole, was robbed at later that day.
Well, and as you said, around the outside, I believe we saw Horan try and defend Foweather around the outside, and he happened to lose there. So Foweather took third over in GP3 as they're being passed by some faster traffic. Definitely, traffic has had a lot of effect on this battle here. These 4 drivers have been sticking so close to each other that any car that comes in the way makes a big difference. you know, we haven't seen as much of an impact in some of the other tracks. You know, why do you guys think you know, that's happening more at this track than some of the others?
Well, it just has to go to track temperature, really.
Could
Track
you fill us
temperature.
in more there?
The tires much more slippery, so it's going to be more down to driver's skill and overtaking maneuvering, because on the lower track you're going to have guys that know the car just a little bit better to maximize the tire grip, but in a low track grip state, it's going to make the cars a little bit tighter and more looser to drive. But it's also the draft here. It's so many straights here and so long corners that with the low tire grip, long corners, very slow long corners, it's just a recipe for very close racing.
Into the pit
Chris de
counter.
Jong
Chris de
entered.
Jong, yeah. Let's see the pit counter for the various drivers. So de Jong will have the turn into a 1. And so when that moment comes, Dean is a bit off sequence, and I think he already stopped to take, you know, because he towed back to the pits, so he's basically also... Oh, he's taking tires as well, the Jong is. Interesting maneuver.
Wow.
Well, I believe all the drivers were taking tires as well. No, JT Thomas didn't take tires.
Yep, JT did not take tires. So he had a 17-second time in the box.
Lufer did take tires, and then some. I think Max fell asleep in the box.
Strange stop for Max, because he took the faster. If he, I mean, that 1 minute and 44 overall with 1 minute 4 in the pits in the box is too little to repair manually the damage when your car is crabbing like that, but it's still massively long for a fast repair, you know. So
The Shog! He's putting on a show on pit exit, and woo!
Nice save.
Well, he saved that, and that's why the new tire on the Mustangs, some drivers just forget that it's on that car, and you gotta feed it in there, and
And so just to touch on that for the viewers that may not remember or weren't familiar with that. So just a couple weeks ago, we were talking a lot about the the large patch that was deployed to the server, and one of the major changes was in GP2. We went from the previous tire model that was really sticky when cold still, and it didn't really need to come up to temp to be sticky, to this new tire model that we're seeing, where you really have to heat the tire up before you get grip. And for the Mustang drivers, it's definitely a challenge that they've had late in the season, adapting their driving style to that.
Yeah, they really have to be a lot more conservative, and with that raw V8 American power, you gotta be a little bit more conservative on the throttle application and turning.
And of course, the Mustang using street tires, therefore. You need to have an extra layer of carefulness, if that is a word, when you especially on a hot track like this. Fresh tires are going to be very slippery. Carver and Joseph putting on another show, and we have seen in the past they are not at all shy about fighting it out, despite being teammates. So, quarter of an hour left in this race. Quick recap, class by class as per usual. Ray Galloway is leading the way. He's got 1.6 seconds over John Price, a gap that is ebbing and flowing after the stops, but of course before the stops Price was ahead. Great strategy play by Galloway, staying out for 2 laps more than Price and getting that first position in the pit cycle. Chris Price in third, having a quiet but very consistent race. David Staub in fourth, and Leif Peterson sitting in fifth place. Paul Slavonik and Daniel Sadr, they were broken apart around the 20-25 minute mark. They have remained separated ever since, gap now down to 4 seconds, but still a long way to go for Daniel. And they are so similar in pace, as we have seen many times over the year. It's going to be a tough ask for Daniel to close the gap. In GP2, it's Chris de Jong, despite that scary moment. Only he's lost a little bit of time. Now he's got 36 seconds over JT Tammy. And Max Lupfer, where would he be without that massively long stop had he only taken the faster pair? I would say that all things considered, he could have been second and maybe even challenging for the win. Who knows? And
You know, Marco, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Max taking second position in this race yet.
You are quite correct, because if we take a look at the time delta on the right side of your screen, well, look at that. It's coming down. Of course, there's the pit stop in between. But if we take a look at the lap times between the pair of them, you will see that the gains have been quite significant if we exclude, of course, 23 and 24, where the pit stop happened. But look at the other laps. Quickly but surely, is reeling him in. But, of course, we finish our round up with GP3 and this massive fight between Joseph and Carver. We have seen it a lot of times in this championship. Horn and Foweather are a bit behind, but they will fight it out until the end for the final step on the GP3 podium. A move for first.
Ooh. And as you were saying earlier, you know, that we definitely don't see these drivers being shy with each other. They both are comfortable attacking either or pretty much anywhere on the track. You know, the amount of practice they put in really helps them in that. I think it shows through in the racing. You know, on the topic of times, we were chatting about drivers that were getting, you know, passed up, and we did see Rye Galloway just come out in front of John D. Price after the pit cycle. Was trying to look into some of the lap times to see how that happened, and you know, I'd like your guys' take on this, but it looks like Rye Galloway took advantage of the fact that John Price came out full fuel, and Rye got to run 2 laps at with low fuel, and so the lap times he was putting in were just enough better to come out a few tenths ahead of John Price.
And I think our theory of him running a lower downforce car is maybe true, but I'm not sure if it is, because John D. Price ran 1 mile per hour faster last lap than Ryan Galloway, but both of them are averaging around 159 miles an hour down the front straight.
Wow, that's pretty quick. The fastest GP3 Miata that we have is doing 132, and that's in a draft. That's in the draft.
Side by side once again. You know, of course, when you don't take tires, which most of these drivers don't, except for the guys in GP2, usually in this case the overcut comes on about mostly with a shorter pit stop. So I think that that's exactly how Rai pulled this one off with a little bit less fuel. Because he saved a bit, quite a bit in fact, during the first stint, and basically had to fuel a little bit less to go to the end, and that played beautifully, you know, in his favor, and now he's looking to pull away. So you gotta love a little bit of strategy in play. Even when you only have to take fuel, you can do a lot of things to help your cause, and patiently lifting and coasting throughout the first stint, the first half an hour of the race, paid off beautifully for the number 23 driver, and now he's looking to just bring his car home. Price is there, but so far 2.6 seconds, not close enough to pose a threat to the lead of the race. Joseph and Carver instead are, trying to pass each other many times each lap, especially on the front stretch. Let's see if we see another episode of this. And of course, behind them, Foweather and Horn are also very close to each other.
Up front in the GP3 suite, Joseph and Carver, they're coming around Indianapolis turn 1, and their drag race is resuming right now, but it's a bit farther away for Carver if he wants to make a move. But I'll bite my tongue immediately, because hello, Dolly, he's right there. That just shows you how much the MX-5 has that draft to it.
That's the race leader coming through, by the way. Let's jump on board with him.
Really long late apex there. You know, much like you guys were saying earlier, some of these corners just feel like they last forever. You know, they're still quick corners, but they just take quite a bit of long time that you spend in the corner trying to get through it. Like this one, for instance. Ooh,
Yeah,
and he
this
splits
entire-
the field.
Yeah. Great opportunity to split the field. And someone who's not going to be happy about that is going to be Carver. We're riding on
Max
board with
Lupfer.
Lupfer as he goes down the inside and takes back second place from JT Tammy. But Tammy, he's got the run and the draft now. Is he going to try to send it into turn one? No, he's not.
And so just for the viewers here, we've seen Lupfer close the gap on Tammy after that pit stop and we hypothesized it was due to Tammy taking tires, or Lupfer taking tires and Tammy not. And where we're seeing the biggest difference in lap times is in this first sector where you have all these tight and, kind of that braking zone into turn one and that little chicane. That's where the majority of the time is being lost to Max Lupfer there. And it would make sense if that was tire related, don't you think, Austin?
Yeah, absolutely. Tires are helping Luther on his cause.
Yeah, sector 2, there was nearly a half-second difference between the two drivers.
People cheering on Brendan Horn in the chat. P3 free tacos. And he promptly goes back to P4. So I think that puts a lot of extra pressure on. I mean, if you said to me, if you finish on the podium, you get, I don't know, my favorite food, which is pizza, of course. I would be under massive pressure to perform. I would be even slower than usual,
Yeah, with me, like to just get me to do anything, just like be like, hey, Austin, if you get on the podium, I'll get you a 12-pack of Coke, or do something, I'll get you a 12-pack of Coke, and I would do that 110%. Like, I'll feel fresher, but like Coca-Cola to me is like pizza to you.
So I usually have Coca-Cola only with pizza, so that's a bit strange.
Marco, I need to get you here to Texas, or I need to come over to Italy.
If you want
Or
to have
both.
good pizza, you need to come here, yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely coming to you. But I'm bringing Texan Coke, not Italian Coke.
Here we go, side by side for the lead. No, bump
Oh
drafting,
no, we're
bump
bump drafted.
Hello.
Gotcha.
Beautiful. I mean, that's perfect to see the attention to detail that iRacing has put into these MX-5s when they bump draft like that. They compenetrate each other thanks to the magic of the internet. You can really see on the inside of these cars, and they are really, really beautifully done. All the moving parts and the details.
And just to add to that, I think you're exactly right. When I stick my head in the front of my MX-5, that's exactly what it looks like. So I think they did a great job there.
Past the radiator?
Yeah, well, yeah, that's what it looks like underneath. It's everything's right. I definitely took a lot of that apex. That was he's carrying some speed. Rye is definitely trying to keep the pressure on Mr. John Price.
Well, he's pulling away from Price. Mostly.
Mostly, I mean, he's gaining quite a bit. He lost just under 0.3 of a second on lap 34. Let's see lap 35, which begins right now. Of course, that probably is down to some lapping. He lost 0.2 of a second once, but still, I mean, he's having to do some lapping here and there. So I wouldn't be too concerned, especially because I think we have a couple of laps left, maybe 3. Joseph and Carver still very close to each other. For Weather and Horan as other drivers go through. That was David Stubb, if I'm not mistaken. Good run from Horn now, as he goes for the pass. Let's see, or if he's waiting for the final lap.
He's waiting. Horn is waiting to make that move. If not, he would have already positioned himself down to the inside, but with less than 4 minutes remaining, you want to be waiting and on the edge, because if you don't make the move right now, you've given the opportunity already to the car you just overtaken, and he might just be waiting and waiting and waiting and locking and loading, and your shiny Taco Tuesday might be in for a terrible Tuesday if you just get overtaken on the last lap because you were impatient enough.
Sorry, out of work. It's already Wednesday here. I cannot have a Taco Wednesday, right?
Well, this series is based in America. We use America time. Not the sweet America.
Yeah, I thought we were going to Texas time.
Well, technically, Indianapolis is in Texas time.
See, there we go.
Actually, no, it's in Eastern, but we don't talk about that.
2 laps to go. Ry Galloway crosses the start-finish line with plenty of time to spare to complete 2 more laps. This and 1 more. Let's follow these dueling GP3s for the race lead. You will see how big the closing effect is as they go into the IndyCar Turn 1 and back on the front stretch.
Yeah, he's getting on him so much right now. If he kept his foot planted, it would have looked like a roadside bump. Oh my goodness! Hello, GPTO. That's what 30 miles an hour looks like. 30 mile per hour difference between 160 and 132, 135. That was a
change for the lead.
Blitz.
And the status quo remains the same in the battle for P3 and P4, with Foweather still in front of Horn as we are heading into the halfway point of this penultimate lap. Paul Slavonic happily leading the way in GP1. Daniel Sadro has not been able to recover, unfortunately. Chris DeShong, after a bit of a scare after his stop, is enjoying.
And Marco, I believe your favorite flag just went out. For Ry Galloway as he crossed the finish there.
You are absolutely right. Sale la Blanca here at Indianapolis. 1 more lap.
There we go.
White flag is out here at Indianapolis for Ry Galloway and all of the iWRL. And now Carver and Joseph are being split up by DeShong.
And that was the very last place that Mr. Carver, I'm sure, wanted a car to come in between him and Jared Joseph, because these two cars, these two guys run really close lap times, so that's any extra gap is going to hurt.
I get to hear the Tigers screaming for grip. And Marco definitely reminded me to watch that Chamber video again, because that's actually a very fun and informative video if you're a nerd about tires and grips and grading of tracks. There's also a cool video in the Dale Jr. podcast where they talk to one of the top NASCAR repaving guys. And if you're a fan of Texas Motor Speedway or interested in IndyCar and why that race was horrible to watch, you can go and watch that. It'll kind of give you an insight on track repaving. But Ry Galloway doesn't need to have to worry about that as he takes the win.
Yeah, it looks like Paul Slavonic was able to hold his lead against Daniel Sadro. Chris DeShong, he's going to come across the line in first in his class. So really, we're down to Jared Joseph, Todd Carver, Foweather, and Huron all duking it out on this very last lap. We'll see if any one of the two drivers from behind can make a pass.
Yep. Joseph has been caught by Carver. Carver looking to make a good run coming through this final sector. It's all flat out corners for him right here.
Joseph
Who's going to have the best run? A little bit of a slide from Joseph. Here comes Carver, 4/10ths back. Let's bring it on to 3/10. They're going down all over to the inside, trying to break the draft. Carver and Joseph battle for the GP3 lead. They're dancing on the apron. The gap is closing in. Carver is coming in on Joseph. They're going all over to the pit exit wall. Here comes Carver. Joseph's giving him a block. Carver diving down to the wall. He's going to make contact.
Ooh. Whoa.
Defense gone late, and here comes Horn and Foweather, and Foweather's going to save P3. A massive shunt for Todd Carver, as well as Chris DeShong, who I believe money shifted right there.
Yeah.
And he's giving the fans a little bit of a turn 4 smoke show. And oh my finish.
That was close.
Now, it was a late move that really shot Carver's arm right there. He could have held it down onto the pit wall, but he decided to stay in the draft of Joseph, but he just gained so much time during there that when he decided he was going to go down to the inside, he just upset the car. As let's watch out this entire last lap again to show you how much spots he's gained. He's gained about 3 car lengths in the matter of 2 seconds in those final 2 corners.
Yeah, I mean, closing speed is definitely something that you worry about when you're drafting at those high speeds, because, you know, when you get in behind someone, you know, and the air starts to get quiet around you, you know that you're getting that suction effect, you know, up to the car in front of you. So it's something to pay attention to. And I think in the sim, you know, it's one of the aspects that might be lost a little bit.
Yeah, so he's locked in the draft right here. If he just held this line, stayed onto the inside, he would have been golden, because Jared Joseph, he left the room open. See, Carver could have gone to the inside. He decided to stay with it, but it was already too late to make a move, and then is hard into the wall. And that's a very scary place to have a wreck, especially on the front straight of Indianapolis. Luckily, he came across the line. As unfortunately, no tacos for Mr. Horn.
Nope, no tacos, but we can give you something a little bit less tasty than tacos, but still very important. The race results. Here we go with GTO.
Yes, taking the win. It is Rye Galloway ahead of John D. Price with a amazing strategy to make that win, followed by Chris Pies, David Stab, Leif Peterson, Aubrey Kundal, and Cameron Lawrence at the end of that grid for the GTOs. And in the next class, in the GP1s, it is Paul Zavonic taking the win ahead of Daniel Sadro with Chris Jennings, who I don't believe took to the field.
He did not.
That's right.
And they're ahead in the GP2. It's Chris DeShong lapping the entire grid.
It's unfortunately both of them had incidents in that same corner early in the race. You know, definitely made the race a little bit easier for him. And
GP3, or Firework 3, as I'm now going to call this series, because the GP3 class is fireworks throughout the entire race. Jared Joseph and Todd Carver had a wonderful race all the way to the line, but Jared Joseph takes the win ahead of Simon Foweather with Brendan Hahn. Unfortunately, his hunt for tacos came up not good, but hopefully he does get that chance next time. They're ahead of Greg Mack and Darren Dean behind them, and Felix.
I don't know what I'm doing, sorry.
Marco's drunk, ladies and gentlemen.
That's not nice.
It's 4:10 in the morning, please. Little bit of respect.
All right. Marco's sleep deprived.
Marco, we couldn't do this without you.
And it's my 3rd broadcast in a row, so, I mean. But I think more important than me and my sleeping schedule, I think we have some interviews to do.
Yeah. Let's see. Do we have any drivers waiting? We do. It looks like we've got 3 of them, which is spectacular.
And let's bring in our Mustang winner, Chris DeShong.
Evening, guys. How you doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing just fantastic. How are you?
Absolutely fantastic.
Well, you lapped the entire field, and that was a pretty dominating win. Sure, the rest of the guys in your class had incidents, but it's still a big achievement to just lap the entire field. How was that race?
Well, I think I have a magic 8-ball taped to the front of my car or something that manages to make Max spin out whenever I'm near him or something. I'm not exactly sure yet. But other than that, the race was a blast. For the first half, I had an absolute fantastic battle with Max, him and I going back and forth constantly. May or may not have tried to pass him in front of the Porsche Caymans on purpose. But anyways, yeah, I'm disappointed to see Max spin out the way he did. And I believe he got a penalty as well in pit road for speeding. If it weren't for that, he honestly probably would have been right behind me for the finish.
Well, that
explains that extra minute he spent in the pit.
Yep, I was talking to him afterwards, and he said he ended up getting a penalty from speeding. He wasn't expecting the cones to start where they were, and that's really what slowed him down so much.
Well, thank you for that insight. That clears up a bit of the confusion we had. In other news, Indianapolis, we saw you struggle with the tires coming out of pit road. How are you adapting to these new tires?
So if you guys remember from Daytona, I actually made the decision to not change tires, and that was really because I hate the way these tires are when they're cold, and you guys found that out tonight. Max and I are actually close friends. Him and I talk throughout the race constantly, and that's whenever he had his incident, went to pit road, changed tires, came back out. He was running a good second and a half, 2 seconds faster than I was. So I made the decision, you know what, if I'm up here by myself, I'll go in and change to new tires. What do I have to lose? And you guys saw what I had to lose by spinning out. So that's really the main reason why I'm not too big of a fan of new tires, but it does pay off after the first 2 laps.
It certainly was paying off for you as you were just setting lap after lap faster and faster and started to pull away from Max and JT. But a win is a win, and a win by lap is even more of a win, and that is something to write home about. So this is your chance to go write home about, but with your voice. Anyone who wanted to shout out?
Once again, I'd like to thank you guys for hosting this and for broadcasting this. It makes all of us drivers thrilled that we can always go back and watch later, and we can always have our friends and family, or fans even, watch the race live. Thanks to WRL for putting this on, and I'm very excited.
All right. Thank you, Chris. You have yourself a great night, and let's head it over to Daniel, who he is standing over with another driver of ours.
Yeah, Jared Joseph.
No, I mean, I have no idea what I'm doing tonight.
All right. Congratulations, Jared. That was definitely a race to watch. How you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling good. That was fun. I made huge mistakes at the beginning, had to claw my way back. I was really happy with the drive after the pit stop. I tried to gap them at the beginning, hoping to get out there, and then hopefully lap traffic would keep us separated, but they reeled me in, and that plan went out the window.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you had a couple mistakes early on. I think we saw you cook it a little bit hot into turn 1, 2, I want to say maybe 5 to 10 minutes in there. Can you walk us through what happened? What was going on? Did you just miss the braking zone? Were you just trying to put a little more pressure on the guys behind?
I was definitely pushing, but earlier in that lap, I had called out that there was a Mustang coming up, and Todd kind of looked in his mirrors, made a little mistake. He said a Porsche was coming about at the brake zone, and I just looked, and I flat missed my marks, and I about drove it, like a mile off the track. So I actually got lucky, and
it looked like a great recovery.
Spend a lot of time on this track. I actually bought it yesterday, so I was learning as I went. So the draft is big here, and yeah, I got to watch the brake markers.
Yeah, you mentioned the draft, and that was one place where we were making. There was a lot of discussion around it. It felt like your guys' cars were definitely benefiting from a really long draft. But how were you and Todd able to pull away from the couple drivers behind you? Right, towards the end of the race, it was nearly a 5-second gap.
Yeah, I mean those guys were driving amazing, and we thought we were gonna have a 4-car battle till the end. We got into pits. We did a little, we pitted on a different lap, got fresh tires, and we just kind of hammered down and got the gap. So once we broke the draft, we just kept clicking off clean laps.
Yeah, it looked like some great racing for you guys. Anything you're doing to prep for the week or the race in 2 weeks?
Hopefully, spend a little more time. I was fortunate enough to get back in the real car over the weekend, and me and Todd had a similar battle in real life for 3 days, so that was a ton of fun. So continue it next 2 weeks.
Great. Well, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Rocksteady Racing, Todd Carver, and my wife, and yeah, you guys for doing this. It's a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for putting on a great show today. It was amazing watching the race. So, and good luck in 2 weeks.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Great, and I think we've got one more interview with Mr. Paul Slavonic. I don't think Rye Galloway is making it tonight. We'll have to heckle him later.
Heckling is always fun to just be like, hey, why you not show up? You win the race, don't show up. Well, somebody who did win the race and did show up, it is Paul Slavonic.
Howdy, fellas.
Howdy to you. So you take the win today. How are you feeling about that?
Well, it was a 2-car field, so guaranteed spot on the podium, which is always a plus. But Daniel and I were kind of messaging each other beforehand, just making sure we were on the same page and whatnot. But yeah, I think it was good to take the win, but it was really just a race of traffic. If you ask me, I think I just got the better hand when it comes to that. When you catch the Miatas or the Mustangs in one of the slower corners, it just kills you. And I think I got past a herd of, I call them a herd, and I guess that's what they are, a herd of Miatas early on, and Daniel got stuck behind them for quite a few turns, and that was really it.
Yeah, we saw you overtaking them going into turn 1, and that really was a turning point because in the opening sector, I'm pretty sure you experienced this as well. It's just impossible to get around a slower traffic car in that opening turn, in those opening turns, because it's just 3 consecutive long right-hand corners followed by a extremely long left-hand corner, and the only way you can get around them is on that straight, and it's just follow the leader right there. Was it any sort of strategy to make a overtake on them going to that turn, knowing that it would have to be follow the leader through those corners?
No strategy, just send it. I mean, I was flashing my lights, hoping that they would see me. They were going 2 or 3 wide, heading into 1, and I'm just thinking, I'm gonna just go right by them on the outside. Hopefully, they've got the blue flag and they see me coming, and that was it. Just crossing my fingers and hoping that they saw me and that I didn't take out all 4 Miatas. And it's basically a big bowling ring at this point.
Well, luckily it didn't turn into a bowling ring at all. Most of the cars had a absolutely clean race today, and you had a absolutely beautiful race with some beautiful moves. Any highlights of that race?
Just having a clean race. That's really what I wanted. It would have been nice if traffic didn't split us up so we could have a good battle and everything, but there definitely wasn't a moment where I was relaxed. So as I know Daniel, there were times he was closing right back up to me. But as far as highlights, I mean, really, I guess I would just say being an incident-free race and winning this race. To my knowledge, I don't think I've ever raced at Indy on iRacing, and I've been on iRacing for 7, almost 8 years. So the only experience I have on this track is from like Forza on the Xbox with the controller and everything. So I didn't get time to practice this week. I came in, got about 30 minutes of practice, and then just qualified. And I think I got Daniel by 1/10 of a second, and then that was it. So just lucky to be able to hold on and get the win.
Well, the win is always the best place to be, no matter what series. Before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
I got to thank you guys for putting on the show for us and everything, and all the drivers out there for driving very polite today. It was very a good change of pace considering with the race I had last week. So thanks to all the guys out.
Well, there's smiles all around for you and everyone in the field, some bigger than the others, as some might. Well, I'm pretty sure everyone that raced today was very happy with how they raced and how they finished. I know a few of them not the most pleased, but hey, that's racing. Sometimes not everyone can be pleased, but I 100% know that you and Daniel are having a great day, and we definitely had a great day broadcasting this race here at Indianapolis, and I'm going to bring it over for Daniel to preview the next round of the WRL.
Yeah, well, so in 2 weeks we're coming back for the championship round. It'll be the last race on the calendar here. We still have a few points battles that we'll be taking a look at to see who's going to win at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas. So should be one of your favorite places. Am I right, Austin?
It is my favorite place.
Yeah, I think hopefully we've got a big field. People have had some time to rest after this last weekend of physical racing and trying to prep for the sim. We got a lot of drivers that should be in contention, so really looking forward to that. I think we'll have good passing, some good straights for overtaking, and some good technical sections for forcing errors from other drivers.
Circuit of the Americas is always known for its great pack racing, especially in sports cars, and opening lap opportunities down into Phil Hill, or otherwise that massive turn 1. And don't forget about the slow speed arena section. We might see some TCRs and Caymans getting in with each other.
I think you're right.
Marco, any comments?
Cota is a great track for, which is what we call it in Italy. It's a great track for, I think, sports car racing. You nailed it with the slow section there at the end, very, 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 very wide. So if you catch some traffic, hopefully it's going to be easier than here, for example, especially in the infield. It was very tough to pass, and we might see some very, very close battling all throughout the field, of course. So honestly, I cannot wait.
And neither can we here at Apex Racing TV and everyone in the chat. So hopefully the next week flies by and we arrive at Circuit of the Americas for the final round of the iWRL. Join me in the commentary booth. It is Daniel Dore with Marco Barbanera on the mic and in the commentary booth. No, in the commentary booth and in the production booth as well. He's wearing multiple hats and desperately needs some sleep, so I'm going to end it out right here. And I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.